Society's family unit is in crisis as less and less people are making the commitment of a lifelong partnership together. It has been normalized, encouraged, and easier than ever to just throw in the towel when the going gets tough. With time at a premium, start by spending 20 minutes per week gaining thought-provoking inspiration towards a journey of self-improvement, ultimately improving your marriage, your family, your health, and your home. Today, we are going to talk about contempt. We see examples of this in a lot of social interactions, but it can become toxic. This is part 2 of our discussion on the Four Horsemen that can doom a relationship. We will discuss some examples of contempt, why it is so dangerous, and solutions that can eliminate contempt.
Welcome back to another episode of the Family Order podcast. Just a quick reminder, we are doing video in our true form at 8:04 in the evening. So we have drinks.
Business.
Yes. So we're doing video. It will come out on YouTube on Mondays. The audio will come out on your favorite podcast platform on Mondays as well. But if you want a sneak preview, we are recording to post to our IGTV a few days before the podcast is supposed to come out. So go follow us over on Instagram at The Family Order, and you'll get a little bit early access to the content. So John Gottman is a famous psychologist and professor who has worked for over 4 decades on divorce prediction and marital stability. So last episode, we talked about criticism for the Four Horsemen. This is something that John Gottman came up, but the Four Horsemen helps with managing conflict in relationships. So the goal is to replace these 4 horsemen with positive and productive habits in communication.
Right, because these are negative.
Yes. So the 4 horsemen, if you're a biblical person, they are a metaphor depicting the end times of the New Testament: conquest, war, hunger, and death. So they are predicting the end times of a marriage.
Sure.
So the 4 horsemen here are used in communication styles, and these 4 styles can predict the end of a relationship. So they're criticism, which we talked about in the previous episode; contempt, my personal favorite that we're talking about today; defensiveness; and stonewalling. So
when it comes to marriage, we've talked about the pillar before in several episodes. I think we even had a whole episode dedicated to this, but it is a pillar of ours to elevate one another to flourish as life partners. And in no way does contempt come into that sentence in any way. It's the antithesis. So
that's a big word.
I know, this late at night.
Can't you say antonym?
I think I just got lucky. That actually made sense. So honestly, the second horseman here is contempt. So this is our favorite. This is probably one that we've come across.
Why is it our favorite? Why do we keep saying that?
Well, I don't know if I'd say favorite because we like it. I would say favorite as in it's something now that we see it, we can't unsee it. We spot it immediately, and it just makes our skin crawl. As soon as we hear it, we recognize it immediately, and I don't know.
And we're not saying in our relationship.
No.
We recognize it immediately in our relationship if it were to happen, but we recognize it in other people's relationships.
Yeah.
And then we talk about them.
Probably saw it more. We saw it more early in our relationship. We've seen it in others since we were early to get married and others weren't. So we've seen it in them later after we figured out it was bad because we thought it was somewhat normal.
So contempt. So when we communicate in this state, we are mean. Yeah. We're truly mean. So we treat others with disrespect. That's the biggest word for me, is disrespect. We mock them with sarcasm, ridicule, call them names, mimic or use body language such as eye rolling, scoffing. So the target of contempt is made to feel despised and worthless.
Right.
But what's, I guess, most entertaining is that it's not forthcoming.
Yeah.
Is that the entertaining part for us?
Maybe.
It's not like someone goes like, I despise my husband. I mean, some people do, but it's not like they say that.
Spell it out that way.
Yeah, they don't spell it out. Exactly.
Yeah.
So in regard to criticism in the previous episode, contempt goes far beyond criticism. We talked about criticism being kind of the gateway to the other horsemen.
Especially contempt.
Yes.
Especially contempt, because criticism attacks a person's character at their core, whereas contempt assumes a certain position of moral superiority over that person. So whoever you're holding contempt for, you're mocking them as if you are better than them.
Yeah.
So
one that we like, you're tired. Well, cry me a river.
Yeah.
Like, are you 9?
Yeah.
Like, that's what something we would say to KJ.
Are you a child?
or something. I'm tired. Well, hi, tired. I'm mom.
Yeah. Yeah, she likes dad jokes, but she doesn't like jokes like that. She doesn't find us as funny as I think we do.
Yeah. So, like, if Ben were to come home from work, which we both work from home, but and he's like, "Oh, you're tired," or something.
A long trip all the way upstairs. That commute's killing me.
If I were to say something, I've been with the kids all day, running around like a mad to keep this house going, and all you do when you come home is work and flop down on the sofa like a child and play those idiot video games.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have time to deal with another kid. Could you be any more pathetic?
Yeah. So things like that are very contemptuous. I think that's a little over the top, obviously, but I bet there's people that's heard stuff like that. Though.
Skills.
Honestly, it's
the fun part about contempt is when a spouse says that about their husband to other people.
Yeah.
That's the entertainment factor for me.
Oh yeah. It's like, oh, he's a complete idiot. He can never get anything right.
Uh-huh.
He doesn't know how to do things the right way. He always messes things up. So it's it's really interesting, because I guess the question is, when you show that level of contempt, maybe you do it directly to your spouse, what do you expect in return? Do you really think there's going to be a positive reaction? Like, you know what, you're right, I am the world's worst driver, I should never drive again, here's the keys, you drive from now on.
Now that I think about that, you're so nice, because I probably am a really bad driver.
You're a worse backseat driver, and you're a terrible passenger.
But see, the thing is that I know it, I accept it.
Yeah, that's true.
Not going to change it.
And that's why you can't really show contempt, though, because you have a level of humility, and that's what's lacking in contempt. You have no humility about your own flaws. You just want to throw stones, even though you live in a glass house. And I'm sorry, we all have things that we mess up, right? And you want to be positive and try to help improve, right? This should be constructive, but instead you're showing contempt, like you're better than them. So maybe they won't look at all your flaws if they're busy feeling bad about themselves. But honestly, showing that level of contempt even to friends doesn't do any good. I mean, what are they supposed to say? I guess I don't know. What? I'm sorry. How am I supposed to
feel that way?
Pick sides here, and then over time, let's say things improve. They're going to remember those interactions and those comments that you made. That doesn't just go away just because things are better now. So that doesn't matter. It's like, wait, you just completely called him a fat, ugly slob who's an idiot who doesn't know how to do anything right. Now, how am I supposed to look at him the next time I meet him? It's gonna feel weird. So
you know how your wife says about you,
right? So obviously, research also shows that couples that have a lot of contempt with each other suffer from more infectious illnesses, colds, the flu, probably COVID. So, but that's due to stress and weakened immune systems. So I think that's pretty obvious for
we don't
most.
Get sick.
Not really. Well, I wouldn't say we never have contempt or stress, but I think that we probably minimize it pretty well.
That's very interesting.
So contempt is fueled by these long simmering negative thoughts about your partner, many of which you didn't bring up when you probably should have, but they come to a head when the perpetrator attacks the accused from a position of superiority, like we said before.
Mhm.
So you wait and you wait, and then you suddenly arm yourself with enough ammo to launch an attack.
Mhm. Most importantly, contempt is the single greatest predictor of divorce.
Right.
So it must be eliminated. And I feel like all of our friends are probably going to get divorced if they don't eliminate it.
Oh,
That
don't
sounds
say
so
that.
bad.
Well, they can still turn it around.
They can't. Yeah.
I don't. And again, we're not perfect. There's no
We're not.
guarantee that we're keeping all of that out of our
And it
relationship.
has taken work.
It'll continue to take maintenance,
Yes,
for sure.
Exactly.
That's
exactly.
why we have date nights and why we try to have positive
when I'm talking
interactions.
to people about my husband, it's always in a very uplifting sort of way, you know,
Mhm.
and not bringing my husband down.
Because again, does that make you look
It's not
better?
airing his dirty
I mean,
laundry. It's not,
Yeah.
you know,
Makes you look bad too.
yeah, it's not
That's the
focusing
thing.
on the mistakes that he's made or, you know,
Yeah.
anything like that. Yeah. It makes me look bad, makes you look bad. And
Not to say that you want to put on a big front, like you're
Yeah.
faking your life, like everything's great and it's all sunshine and rainbows, because that's not true either.
Mhm.
You know, but there's a difference between maybe having someone lend a friendly ear on a particular maybe subject without getting too detailed or getting into graphic details about something that they don't need to
Mhm.
know about.
Mhm.
But you know, honestly, you'll find in most marriages and most relationships, it's all relative. Everybody's relationship is different. So even if someone else is married, you've known them a long time, they can't fully relate to your relationship. Only you know what goes on behind closed doors. They don't have all the context.
Mhm.
So it's not a fair thing to do in the first place.
Yeah.
So,
So the
anyways.
antidote for contempt, like we said, is to build a culture of appreciation and respect. And this is taking work. And not like work, but like just
a lot of
growth and
intentional sort of
intent. That's the word
effort.
I'm looking for. Yeah. So remind yourself of your partner's positive qualities and focus on those versus the negative qualities that they have. So this is a rut that is easy to slip into if you've been in a long-term relationship, which we've been together 17 years,
Right.
Almost, right? So resentment can build, and you get too familiar and you start to overlook all the good things that the other person performs. So, and it just kind of becomes the standard. Whereas if you start to have that intentional focus of the amazing things that your spouse or husband does, it radiates, you know, the very few times that we get together with friends, you know, or family, and it's the usual, oh, how's it going? What are you guys up to? You know, and
How
stuff.
about them cheese?
You know, it's a lot of you know, oh my gosh, you know, we're doing great. You know, Ben just got promoted at work, and yeah, you know, we're putting our house on the market, which is super stressful, but at the same time we're able to do that because of Ben's promotion and because of these amazing changes that we've made in our life, and we're just really doing great, you know. And it's not putting a front, it's not
beating our chests and bragging
yeah
at the same time either.
But if I went into a conversation where someone was like, how's it going? Like, oh, you know, like, oh my God, if my husband asked me for one more thing, you know, or I mean, we're putting our house on the market and he's not doing anything, or all he's doing is working on the house and not watching the kids, or, you know, yeah, he got this promotion at work, but he blew it all on video games. You know, is that a person you want to talk to?
Not really.
That's like that awkward, like,
yeah. But it kind of makes you think too, what do you say about me when I'm not around?
Yes.
Because that's your spouse and I'm just a friend of yours. So do you talk smack on everybody when they're not around? Or
yes.
I mean,
but I think that you and I are really good because obviously we have a podcast, so we do air our dirty laundry, which it's not very dirty. It's not like soiled, like it's
yeah, it's just been worn. Maybe
a
little bit of sweat in there.
So I don't think that we're living in a bubble of sunshine and rainbows, you know, and everything. We're pretty real.
It's not a fairy tale.
people that, yeah, we deal with some crap. But when it comes to talking to other people on a personal one-on-one conversation, we be sure to have that respect and uplifting and
we edify each other.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. Do it in person, do it when they're not around. But examples of contempt are things like sarcasm, being cynical, name calling, eye rolling, sneering, mockery, just the hostile humor,
Mhm.
like the things that aren't really funny, but you try to cover it up
Awkward
with a
laugh
joke.
things.
Yeah. So keep in mind, contempt is destructive and defeating. It is the greatest predictor of divorce, and it must be avoided at all costs. It does no good.
So there's a few ways to build that culture of respect and appreciation that we talked about besides um, besides just practicing it, obviously.
Mhm.
So one of our models is small things often. And this is something that that I do have to work on, because I'm always moving on to the next thing. I think this doesn't just have to do with
You're
contempt.
checking boxes off.
I'm checking boxes off.
Task oriented.
And I need to celebrate the small wins. And that's something that actually one of my mentors has talked about too, even on a business side of things, but celebrating the small wins versus just going on to the next thing. So regularly expressing appreciation, gratitude, affection, and respect for your partner, even if it's something little. Gosh, what was it? Oh, like today was crazy. And I was sure to tell you, like, hey, babe, like, thanks a lot for helping out today. And that's not something that I would have done before.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have said anything before because, well, hell yeah, you're going to help me out. My day's freaking crazy, you know, type of a thing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And the way it's not intended this way, but the way it comes off to the other person is, well, it's the Allie show and I'm just her helper. I'm here to constantly assist whatever she wants to do. And that's not the case. We both are partners in this and we both have things that we want to get done.
Maybe you felt that way up until the point that I appreciated you.
Oh, I still feel that way. But it was a nice gesture.
I mean, like, breakfast. I made breakfast this morning. I made a lot of dishes with breakfast this morning, and he cleaned it all up. And I was like, "Thank you." Because I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off. Thank you.
You do it to yourself.
I do it to myself. You know, but so expressing that, or you know, when he folds a load of laundry that I just hadn't gotten to yet that day, you know, just saying, "Hey, thanks for putting that away."
Yeah. And
it might not be perfect.
Yeah, it's about teamwork. I mean, honestly, those positive interactions will help the way that you view each other, and really avoid that expression of contempt, because you have more positive interactions. And I think the magic ratio is a 5-to-1 ratio, positive and negative. I think I misquoted in the previous episode that it was like 7 or 8 to 1, but 5 to 1 is the ratio for your relationship to succeed. 5 positive to 1 negative. And I don't, just human nature, that 1 negative is what we remember for some reason. We don't remember the positive as much. I mean, have you ever given a presentation and they may have said 5 positive things, like, well, you really delivered it really well, your tone of voice was good, this was good, this was good, and you're like, you're waiting, like, where's the butt, what's the butt, where's the big butt in here? It's like, but you were missing your sources on the bottom of the slide. And it's like, that's the thing that's going to stick with you when you leave the room instead of the positive. So I don't know what that is, but something about humans that we do that. But the interactions, think of it like a bank account. You need to make 5 deposits before you make a withdrawal, so to speak. Yeah. So kind of a rough metaphor, but just remember that you need to be careful with contempt. There are ways to bring up a tough subject without showing contempt. And if you're dealing with it on a regular basis, you're talking about real stuff every day with your spouse. You don't have to show contempt. You're already handling your issues. Yeah. So just remember to flourish in your relationships. And that means you have to be a team based on respect and understanding and not showing contempt. It does nothing positive. And just remember, it's not the end of the world, though. It can be resolved amicably. And if you are aware of it and you know how to replace it, awesome. Then you're on your way. Life's too short for the negativity that contempt brings.
Mm-hmm. So this week's call to order is to identify where you have contempt in your relationships. Work on replacing phrases that display contempt and make them more positive. Pick one relationship that you have or one aspect of your relationship that has contempt and can be improved. Practice some self-talk to replace words of contempt with more positive communication. If you're ready for your marriage and family dynamic to thrive and not just survive, all it takes is 20 minutes or less joining us each week. It begins with a journey of self-improvement while you sit in the carpool lane, commute to work, squeeze in a workout, or get halfway through folding that laundry pile. Be sure to check out the blog at thefamilyorder.com and follow us on social media at The Family Order. If you're ready to start your journey, be sure to click subscribe so you don't miss new episodes every Monday.